Good afternoon, Chairman Schatz, Vice Chairman Mikowski, and members of the committee. My name is Wizip Hungarian. I serve as the Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary for Indian Affairs at the U.S. Department of the Interior. Thank you for the opportunity to present testimony regarding S-2088, the Wounded Knee Massacre Memorial and Sacred Site Act. I would also note that this bill is of special importance to me, not only as a native South Dakotan and member of the Rosebud Sioux tribe, but also as a descendant of a survivor of the Wounded Knee Massacre. My great-grandmother, Topa Kinajumi was her name, was the only survivor from her family. So it's a privilege to be here. In October of 2022, the Oglala Sioux tribe and Cheyenne River Sioux tribe acquired approximately 40 acres of land in Wounded Knee, South Dakota. The lands are significant to both tribes, as more than 300 Lakota people were lost in the massacre. The tribes acquired the land from private landowners and planned to maintain the site as a memorial and sacred site protected from commercial development. S-2088 directs the Secretary of the Interior within 1 year to complete and make any corrections and to survey and legal description of the land and to make any other necessary actions for the land to be held in trust, for the tribes in restricted fee status. The Act defines restricted fee status to mean that the two tribes retain ownership of the land, that the lands are part of the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation and subject to the civil and criminal jurisdiction of the Oglala Sioux tribe, and that the lands cannot be transferred without the consent of Congress and the tribes, and it is not subject to state or local taxation, and is not subject to any law requiring the review or approval of the Secretary of the Interior for the tribes to use the land as allowed by the covenant the tribes entered into on October 21, 22. The use of the lands is limited by S-2088 to those uses outlined in the October 2022 covenant, which states that the lands will be held and maintained as a memorial and sacred site without commercial development, and that the lands cannot be used for gaming activities under the Indian Gaming Regulatory Act. The department supports S-2088 as it aligns with the administration's commitment to restore tribal homelands. The tribes will have more authority to honor and to protect the Wounded Knee site. Chairman Schatz, Vice Chairman Mikowski, and members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to provide the department's views today.
My name is Ryman LeBeau, and I said in my language, I said, hello, my relatives. I shake your hands with a good heart. And Mr. Chairman, Vice Chairwoman, we thank you for this time, members of the committee. I serve as the chairman of the Cheyenne River Sioux tribe. I thank you for this opportunity to testify on behalf of my Lakota people today on the vitally important subject of S-2088, our Wounded Knee Memorial Sacred Site Act. Our South Dakota senators, Mike Rounds and John Thune, who offered this Senate companion bill to restore our lands to Indian country status with reference to our 1868 treaty, deserve our gratitude. The Wounded Knee Memorial and Sacred Site Act land will be taken into restricted Indian fee title with the names of our respective tribes on the title. We also thank our Congressman Dusty Johnson, who offered the House bill on this important matter concerning Wounded Knee. We urge Congress to quickly pass this bill and respectfully ask President Biden to sign into law. The Cheyenne River Sioux tribe, our Lakota people, are comprised of Minikoju, Itazi Cho, Sihasapa, and Ohenupa bands that is 4 of the 7 bands of Lakota. Chief Bigfoot or Spotted Elk was our Minikoju Itancha chief, and he was a relative of Crazy Horse. His father was Longhorn or Minikoju Itancha, who was born in 1790 and lived until 1877. At Cheyenne River Sioux tribe, or Itancha, including Longhorn, are signatories to the 1851 Sioux Nation Treaty, Fort Laramie I, and the 1868 Great Sioux Nation Treaty, Fort Laramie II. Chief Bigfoot was a signatory to 1868 treaty, and also my great-great-grandfather, Chief Joseph Forebear, was also a signatory for the Two Kettle Band of Lakota. Chief Bigfoot was sick with pneumonia as Minikoju made their way to Pine Ridge. The cold winter on the prairie in western South Dakota often reaches 20 degrees below zero, and with the wind chill, the temperature can feel like 50 degrees below zero. Major Whiteside told Bigfoot and his people that they could not go to Pine Ridge, but must go to the military camp at Wounded Knee, where the army intended to disarm our Lakota men, women, and children and take all their horses. Chief Bigfoot asked the cavalry to take the Lakota to Pine Ridge, but they refused. In the bitter cold of December 1890, the 7th Cavalry per Colonel Forsyth ordered our Minikoju and our Hunkpapa Lakota relatives to camp under the Hotchkiss guns at 6 a.m. in the morning on December 29th, 1890. The Army lined up all the men and large boys 9 years old and older in front of the soldiers' firing line, forcibly disarmed them. As Black Coyote, the last man, was disarmed, he objected, and he had just bought his gun, and the soldiers seized him roughly, and the gun went off straight up in the air. Then, with a sound like canvas tearing, the cavalry commenced firing at the disarmed line of men in front of them, and the Hotchkiss guns fired throughout the camp, killing children, women, and old men. Soldiers shot women with babies on their back. The shooting went on for hours. When little boys hid in a ravine, the soldiers called them that they were safe now. They could come out. When the boys came out from the ravine, the soldiers shot them. Our Minikoji relative, Dewey Beard, lost his parents, his wife, his babies that day, and was shot several times. He said simply, "They murdered us." Dewey Beard was known as Wasu Maja, Iron Hail, for many wounds sustained at Wounded Knee. Beard was the last living Wounded Knee survivor, and he said that 350 of our Lakota were massacred that day in December 1890. Upon hearing the massacre, General Nelson A. Miles said Wounded Knee was the most admirable criminal military blunder and a horrible massacre of women and children. Congress and the President ignored General Miles and awarded 24 medals to the soldiers that killed the women and the children at Wounded Knee. My grandmother, Marcelle LeBeau, served as a nurse in the United States Army in France during the World War II Battle of the Bulge. She treated America's wounded soldiers from the battlefield. When she was 100 years old, she asked Congress to pass the Removing the Stain Act to rescind the medals issued to the soldiers of the Wounded Knee Massacre. She said that there is a pervasive sadness among our Lakota people due to the tragic loss of our Lakota people at Wounded Knee. My relatives, we would like to thank the South Dakota Senators and Congressman Dusty Johnson for their leadership on this important matter concerning Wounded Knee, and we thank the chairman, Senator Brian Schatz, ranking member Senator Murkowski, and the Senate committee members for this hearing and the opportunity to give testimony. We urge Congress to quickly pass this bill and respectfully ask President Biden to sign it into law. We appreciate the time today. This land is sacred to us. This 40 acres is where our relatives were lost, and literally is referred to as the killing fields. And with the partnership with the Oglala Sioux tribe and the Cheyenne River Sioux tribe and the United States Congress, we can all partner together to make a positive change for our people. Thank you.
Matakiapi. Good afternoon, committee. My name is Frank Starr comes out. I am the president of the Oglala Sioux tribe and a direct descendant of Chief Bigfoot, also known as Spotted Elk, who was massacred at Wounded Knee. My fellow Wounded Knee descendant, Mr. Cedric Brokennose, who accompanied me to the House side hearing on this bill, made a significant point. He said, "The land at Wounded Knee is sacred, as 300 or more of our ancestors lay buried there. The land needs to be respected as a memorial site, no different than Arlington National Cemetery." I agree. My tribe is one of the tribes of the great Sioux Nation. which we refer to as the Ochete Shakoi, which means the 7 council fires. The Ochete Shakoi consists of the Dakota, Lakota, and Nakota people, and the Oglala are one of the 7 bands of the Lakota. We are the people of Crazy Horse, Red Cloud, Littlewood, American Horse, and many others. We signed the Fort Laramie Treaties of 1851 and 1868. The treaties of 1868, the United States promised that our land would be set apart for absolute and undisturbed use and occupation of our Ochete Shakoi as a permanent home. The United States also promised in the treaty that war shall forever cease. The United States broke the treaty by invading our treaty lands and waging war against our people. In 1877, the United States stole the Black Hills and other lands from our people. Then in 1889, the United States divided the Ochete Shakoi into separate tribes at separate reservations. Despite this, the tribes of the Ochete Shakoi continue to unite on matters of national concern. Our recovery of land at Wounded Knee is the latest example of our efforts to protect our rights and sacred lands. In October 2022, the Oglala Sioux tribe and Cheyenne River tribe came together to purchase a 40-acre parcel at the site of the Wounded Knee Massacre. We reclaim this sacred ground not just for ourselves, but for all members of the Ochete Shakoi. We have pledged through the binding covenant that the land will be forever as a memorial and sacred site without commercial development. It is a hallowed ground, and it will always be honored and respected as hallowed ground. The Wounded Knee Massacre is one of the darkest events in the history of the United States. It is a senseless, cruel, and unjustifiable massacre of hundreds of Indian men, women, and children by the United States. Our people have grieved for well over a century the genocidal attack of our people and our way of life that took place at Wounded Knee. In 1990, Congress acknowledged the tragedy and historical significance of the Wounded Knee Massacre and expressed its deep regret to our people. It is an important step in a healing process. S-2088 represents another important step in that process. Under this bill, the Wounded Knee land will be held in restricted fee status. This means the land will be owned by the Oglala Sioux tribe and the Cheyenne River Sioux tribe. And at the same time, it will be protected by federal law, including federal restrictions against alienation, and it will be free from state and local taxation. We thank Senator Rounds for introducing this bill and Senator Thune for co-sponsoring it. This bill is an important step in our nation-to-nation relationship. We ask this committee to work and interact this bill this Congress. Wopila.
The restricted fee status, because quite simply because, to me anyways, because granted what happened there, this 40 acres is literally the killing fields of 1890, and we lost our relatives there, and we want to restore the land back to the original people, the Lakota people, and now being the Oglala Sioux tribe and the Cheyenne River Sioux tribe. And we want to put it that in the name of the tribes and not the United States.
Mm-hmm. We're entitled to it, and the title should be ours. We should be the owners of this land because our ancestors are buried there. So I believe we should have complete ownership of it. And that's why we are here. You know, from the speaking from the heart, you know, I'm the 7th generation of Seatonka, Chief Bigfoot, and his son Hikro also perished with him, and that's where my bloodline comes from. So, for me, being sitting here today is very important for me, and not only for myself, but and my tribe, but for my Tioshpa, my family. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Practical standpoint, really, I think our involvement really starts, in the beginning in terms of making sure that we do a proper survey and that we ensure that the land is recorded in the two tribes' name properly, and then making sure that if there are any utility easements or anything like that, that those are properly transferred. Otherwise, from a practical standpoint, it would, moving forward from a jurisdiction, taxation status, etc., it would essentially be the same as trust land.
I really want to stress the importance that the Lakota people have to the land. There's a connection there to our own land, our community, and this connection is felt throughout Indian country. Other tribes are in a similar situation, and there's no other place like it, and there's no other group of people, nation of people that have that connection here in North America. So it is a unique situation, and perhaps that's difficult for others to understand. But this is, in biblical terms, these lands are Eden. This is our paradise on earth right here in Lakota Nation and the Black Hills. Those areas are sacred to us. Lands are sacred to us. So we have that connection, and just wanted to point that out. I think that's fitting here with this bill and the importance of it. We appreciate it. Thank you.
One thing I like to put out there is, this is a collaboration of not only the tribes but with the government. And I know me and Chairman LeBeau, we took this issue all the way to the grassroots of both tribes, both Tioshpa's families, and all the descendants and survivors, I should say. So, and it took a lot of effort and a lot of consultation and time and energy to gather all this information so we can get this done right. And from what I'm seeing, it sounds like, or the way I see it from my view, I think we're ready to move forward, and positive it's going to happen. Thank you.